I think people ask where success comes from, and it's about taking risks. I say this to our CEOs in my portfolio now. It's like, you've got to step out of your comfort zone and try something that could accelerate your business, right? It's what's possible out there. We're actually doing this presentation. What's the art of the possible? And it's like, I would see something broken. I'm like, I'll go do that. I'll take that. I'm the CFO, but let me go run our supply chain and build a product in China. I haven't built a hardware product since I never did, but I hadn't even worked on one since I was like, when I started at KPMG, I think I worked on semiconductor companies, but I ended up building a product in China and moving distributors and cutting cost out of it. And it was just, something was broken. I wanted to go do it. I was like, I think I can help. And when something's really broken, it can only go up from there, right?
And so a great leadership lesson I'm taking from this is that growth comes when you're looking at the art of the possible. And that's volunteering to go fix something that's broken, even if you know a hill of beans about it.
I think you will learn something. You will get visibility. You'll have a voice at the table because you're working on something that people are afraid of because it's broken. This is the beauty of going and taking on something that needs to be fixed. It needs to be fixed because everybody's going, this thing's broken and somebody's got to fix it, right? Or it's all of a sudden something's broken. You ask for what you think you need to go make it work, right? You're at that moment where you get to say, here's resources, I'll go do it, but here's what I need. And I need you behind me and you behind me. And we're going to talk every day or whatever it needs to make sure we're all lockstep about what's happening and why, so that you make sure you're not left with the bag because the bag was already there. So you've picked it up. You're going to try to carry it forward. What do you need to be successful, and ask for it? Because they will usually give it to you because it's broken.
Right. Yeah, it's a really good point. And you have to be wise enough to volunteer, then come back with the requests. Have you seen somebody pick up the bag and F up the bag and blow up their career?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. 100%. And it's so hard to watch. It's like watching a train wreck slow motion. You're just like, stop, go back.
What are the themes there? What are the big three takeaways when you think about the biggest train wrecks that you've seen? Right? If you could go whisper in their ear.
Great question. Wanting the role so badly you can't see straight. Wanting the title and the chair, and not understanding what it actually takes to sit in that chair every day. And taking the time at a minimum, even if you said, okay, I don't know everything about the chair, but I'm going to go sit there and I'm going to learn for the first 60, 90 days. I'm going to go listen to people and I'm going to go talk and I'm going to go really talk to other leaders who have that seat if you've never done it before. But to assume you can walk into a chair because you've seen pieces of somebody do it and that you're going to go excel, I have seen people fall down more on that because they were so obsessed with getting into the chair. They also weren't obsessed with what does success in that chair look like.
That's really important. What you're talking about right now is something that came up in personal boards this month in Legacy Executive Club. And it's the HELE, HELE, the high ego, low EQ CEO. Quite a few of our leaders are talking about these young HELE CEOs and how do you manage around this person, right? I think we just coined that, if that's okay. But it's what you're talking about, right? I was so excited to get the job.
Well, not just that role. I think other C-levels, VPs. I mean, there's lots of other leadership roles where people get so obsessed of trying to climb the ladder. They forget to stop and go, how are you going to win when you get there? How do you rally troops? How do you create a successful foundation to be strategic and execute at the same time?
Well, let's dig some more into that. I want to ask you about some of these big lessons. You, on your way up, what one thing do you think made the biggest difference? What helped you be successful when you got the seat?
The willingness to listen. I think I'm a good listener and people tell me stuff. I don't know why. It must be like tattooed on my forehead. Like, tell me all the stuff.
Secrets, please.
Because I think it's being approachable and people wanting to make you proud to be in your organization. And so for me, it was always like, don't tell me the good stuff, tell me the bad stuff too. Like we're all here trying to fix it and make it better. And people would tell me things, which is great because if people would tell me things in other organizations, leaders go, can you tell me what they told you? Cause I need to know. which was awesome. But it is, you stop and listen. And I think I was pretty good at going down to, all levels within our teams and within our companies, quite honestly, that I work for, and talking to, the SDR, going and have lunch with a new AE, going and talking to somebody new who's an SC, somebody who just got promoted into product, somebody who was a vice president in marketing. It was not my, organization, but really trying to listen and learn about the organization. So I think that, but also listening to customers and product. Those two things are what drive your company. I don't care what role you have. And if you don't understand your customers and you don't understand what's happening in product, and hopefully those two things are linked well, because if they're not, that's obviously part of the problem. If you listen to those two things, everything else comes out. Sales comes out of that. Successful product and successful customers is more sales, finance, the financial numbers make sense because those engines are running well. And so I spent a lot of time, even when I was with KPMG and I was in the accounting side, not the consulting side, I'd go sit with the product team and the sales team. I was financial. I was an auditor. And people are like, oh my gosh, you're like so good with these customers. Like, 'cause I understand what they build and I understand what their customer's pain is. And that helps make sure the financials make sense to me.
That's gold right there. Let me ask you, when you do this listening tour, right? Yeah. Is this something that it happened informally? Is it something you built a routine or a cadence around? What suggestions do you have for someone?
You have to make it a cadence because you get so busy. And I think especially the more responsibility you have, the busier you get. So you could never talk to anybody and, work 15-hour days, right? Other than it just be in meetings, right? You never have a one-on-one, just be in meetings. And so I had to, and over time it was me. And then I work with my EAs who have been just amazing partners, to say, okay, I want to meet with this, person once a quarter. I want to meet with this person once a month. I want to meet with this person every week. So depending on where they were in my realm of my direct reports versus next layer down versus another organization, I want to meet with a head of data science every month. So we did rotations. I'd meet with the new SDRs when they came in. I met with the new AE classes when they came in. New employees across the company, I did a meet and greet just to talk and hear their feedback and ask questions, and which was super fun because you got everybody, engineering, everybody in there. And I would meet with engineering, and it's just people that I thought had really important understanding of the business that I didn't because I don't see it every day. You need to go figure out what's going on with that. And then it also gives you a much more empathy on how you collaborate with those organizations. It really does. I think one is the approachability as a leader, right? Like my door's open, come stop me in the hall. You talk to me anytime you want or ask for time. We will spend time. I will be present for that time always. But the other thing when I became a CRO, and I said this with CROs, heads of sales, that role has changed so much and changing even more now. You talk about sales engineers now and all these things that are coming into play because of AI, but I had seen a lot of sales leaders you can manipulate data to say almost anything you want, right? We all know this. And when you're in sales, you are compensated on how well you do. It's just, so when you're paid based on how well you do, there is a tendency to take the cut that is most favorable. And I, as a CFO, so I was the CFO of Outreach before I was the CRO, I took all data into the finance organization, our data analytics team. I actually had sales ops and obviously the finance and accounting teams. So there was a single source of truth in the organization for all data, whether that was customer engagement data, it was product usage data, it was obviously our sales data, that all only single source of truth. We had one way we looked at it. We had our cuts and that was it. Nobody else was going to take a cut they wanted to. And so as a sales leader, I left all that there except sales ops, but I left everything else in finance when I became a CRO because I wanted somebody else to talk about my numbers. I shouldn't have to talk about them and put a spin on them because they are what they are. The data there's a certain, we decide what KPIs we're going to measure and those are the ones we're measuring. And I should not be the voice. Finance should be the one who's bringing that truth and owning it to the organization.
You set up an initial, immediate, on purpose, consistent audit.
Yeah.
I'm not going to talk about my numbers. They are.
Oh, yeah. And I met with the data analytics team every week, and we'd go through all my numbers. And the sales finance team, I didn't put any of the numbers together. We would sit and talk about them. They'd say, hey, I don't think you have enough pipeline. Hey, I don't think you have this. And I was like, well, here's where I think we're okay. And my team would be on there, and we'd talk through, what do we need to do differently? Is there something else that we need to be aware of? But it was a great check and balance to make sure, again, my strategic initiatives and the goals I had for our team were addressing holes that other people saw. So I'm not sitting here trying to, put smoke and mirrors around where the holes are, or sell to myself of that, everything's okay.
And they're equally important, right? I'm not selling bullshit, and I'm not buying my own bullshit, to be fair.
100%.
Have you seen that crash? Yeah. Yeah. Have you seen that? Right. You did that on purpose. You learned that from watching others.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
No, I've seen multiple now. And even in the roles I have today, I've seen multiple CEOs get snowed by their sales leader with cuts of data that don't make you successful. And that happened even when I came to outreach. There was a cut of data that just wasn't, it was a view, but it wasn't the view that said, are we scaling the foundations of this organization? And when you dug into it, we had challenges. We had lots of challenges. And with CEOs that I work with today, I'll ask these questions because I know the tricks of the trade. I go, let's talk about this number. What about this number? What about that number? And then they're like, oh, whoa, wait a minute. Why does that one look like this? And I said, well, because we haven't done X, Y, Z. And here's the next phase of our development and growth. And here's what we've got to do.